All right, so this video is for empaths. Empaths, if you identify as an empath, if you are a very sensitive being who picks up on the energetic universe, right? You are very sensitive to vibrations. You are extraordinarily sensitive and aware of, what's in the ethers. And you find yourself, moving into interactions and spaces and just being kind of inundated with information. This message is for you. I was formerly one of those people, right? I would have described myself that way. I would have felt myself to be that. And I still am very aware of and very sensitive to the ethers. That's my constitution. But I am no longer a victim of information that I sense in the universe. And I am no longer, I don't feel like prey to anything in the universe. I don't feel overwhelmed by the intensity of the universe. I don't feel overwhelmed by whatever's going on in on Earth, although at times, it can be felt as heavy. There is a natural feeling of that you're picking up on collective energy, but then the psychological aspect of you that identifies as a sensitive empath that gets overwhelmed extends that experience and makes that overwhelmed feeling last a long time. And so I'm not telling you to deny what you feel. I am telling you that you have a lot more choice of how you feel than you might be giving yourself credit for, right? And again, this is from experience. I have had an experience where I am naturally an empathic being, and I had a Kundalini awakening, which amplified my awareness. Kundalini energy or meditation, right? Which is not exactly the same thing, but spiritual energy or awareness, it amplifies everything, right? It takes something that was at one point 10 watts and makes it feel like 1,000,000 watts, because the goal of the spiritual awakening is to get you to stop escaping things, so it will blow it up in your experience so that you can no longer run from it and you can just deal with it. So I have dealt with this experience of being inundated with information, right? I go to a funeral and spirits flying around everywhere. I'm in traffic and I feel the energy of everybody driving by me. I'm in a grocery store and I feel if that person has a virus and blah, blah, blah. So again, I am not speaking in any judgmental way whatsoever. I'm speaking from a person who had an awakening into the realization that I can radiate myself into this reality and not be the total victim of my circumstances, right? And this is about filling out this reality with your energy and not letting the energy of a circumstance or of the environment program you, right? This is teachings that we hear. These are concepts that we hear, but do you actually do it? Okay, I'm going to explain how I did it, and whatever comes to me that might help you actually embody this teaching, because I realize how it can really make a person dysfunctional. It can make a person dysfunctional to be so aware of everything, right? Because how can you focus? How can you focus if you're so aware of everything that you're picking up on? And at the end of this, right? At the end of the day, it's possible to be both focused and aware, but the difference is that you're not letting all the information overwhelm you or affect your sense of stability. You're not letting it program you into something other than what you wish to embody, which in my case is a sense of being stable wherever I am. Okay? So empaths, right? Because there's so many potential hooks, right? Oh, that can get my attention. Oh my God. I can read the psychic energy of the person, these people in the room. Oh, I can tell that person's having intense sexual thoughts about me or about a woman that's not his wife, or do. So much information, right? There's so much information in the universe. And really, when you decide to just radiate your own energy and instead of being so hyper vigilant to the environment, which is psychologically is a product of perhaps living in a chaotic environment, in an unpredictable environment where you had to be hypervigilant in order to survive, in order to make sure that you could get away in time, that you could scurry away in time, that you could hide in time to avoid a potential blast or a potential impact. And of course, there is a light side and a shadow side to that sensitivity. The light side is that you're extremely aware of energy, and therefore you are available to energy awareness, right? You're available to your multidimensional nature. But on the shadow side, you could easily let it overwhelm you because you're literally reliving a moment of childhood where you are just trying to avoid impact and explosions. So you are so hyper attuned to every detail in the environment in order to keep yourself safe, right? So what to do? Well, first of all, it's important that, a lot of people that might feel themselves to be highly empathic may very well not have a strong sense of core self, right? A strong core. I'll give you an example of what that might look like. I did not have a very strong core. I did not have a strong ego core. I've always been aware of my soul. I've always been aware of my soul since I was born. But my ego was very fragmented and fractured. So what that would look like would be, ever since I was a child, right? I would just go along with whatever anybody else wanted to do. I was extremely indecisive. I had a feeling of what I really wanted, but I never honored it. And I would just be swept away into somebody else's experience. Oh, let's do this. Oh, I have the feeling of no, not that's not ideal for me, but I would just go along with it anyway. I'd be like, okay, yeah, why not? Yeah, I'm open-minded. I'm silly. I'm free. No, that's not freedom. Freedom is actually saying, no, that's not right for me, right? But of course, we don't always have access to that wisdom as children, although some children really do embody that. I didn't have a strong sense of ego self, right? My ego, my desires, my sense of me in the sense world was not strong, right? So I had my desire to people please, and my awareness, I had no awareness that I had choices because I was conditioned to believe that life equals chaos. And so I am going to accept and tolerate and go along with whatever's around, right? And surely, I can make the best of it, right? I can make the best of anything. That was an idea I had that probably protected me in some ways, right? Probably raised my energy in some ways, but it also perpetually kept me in uncomfortable or dangerous situations that I ultimately had to escape. Okay, so that's one way not having a strong core can manifest, right? So I talk a lot about being very aware of what is real for you right now, what you don't want to do right now, phone calls you don't want to pick up right now, invitations you want to say no to right now, right? Listening to when your body needs to eat, how much rest you need, like that helps rebuild. That rebuilds this central channel that is your chakra system, that is literally the avenue through which spirit manifests, right? So I didn't have an avenue. I had no avenue. I had awareness of my soul. I had a pretty high vibration in this dimension, but it didn't connect to my earthly life. I was disassociated from my earthly life. And many people who are highly empathic are disassociated. So the first step is to rebuild the highway of the core self, right? The ego self. And when I say ego in this context, I mean ego is defined in so many ways. And you know what, to be honest, I've used the word in different ways. And what I'm talking about right now is you're building a sense of, let's call it personal boundary. I like that better than ego. Personal boundaries, right? I love the image of a boundary, right? When you draw a cartoon, a boundary or a line is what makes the character real. So you want to make your character real by honoring your character's desires and needs. desires, needs, biorhythms, right? So what does that look like in your everyday life? Honoring how life is moving through you, whether that's, oh, I want to actually sleep in today. And you might have a job, and you might not be able to right now do everything that feels very natural to you, but I guarantee you that whatever situation you're in, if you, for example, if you're one of those people and you have to go to work, if you would take 2 minutes to just deeply rest in a sensation of pleasure and relaxation and surrender, those 2 minutes would replenish you and give you energy to do whatever you need to do. So the first step is rebuilding the core, rebuilding this avenue, which is the central channel. Spirit, everything is God, like everything is consciousness. But there's also this relative truth where spirit comes in through the crown of the head, and it comes in and it connects through the root chakra to our earth experience. But if you don't, the chakra system is like the personal mind. And if you haven't honored the person, like the character that you were born as, meaning your desires, your aversions, your needs, okay, if you don't honor that, then it's like the highway is broken, and instead of being in your stream of desire, the way that source is streaming through you as your natural aversions, desires, inspirations, what you're naturally interested in, if you're not listening to that, you are in another's stream. And of course, that's natural to a certain extent in childhood, right? Because we have to, in order to survive, unless you have enlightened parents, you have to go along with what they want for you, right? So we are conditioned to remove ourselves from our nature, from our stream. But this can happen to such an extreme extent that we, when people say, I don't know what I want, the truth is, yes, you do. You really do know what you want. You're just so used to ignoring it that desire feeling is very quiet. So the first step, again, is to rebuild the core, and moment to moment, just being so quiet and so attuned to what is real and true for you right now. What is real and true. That might mean putting your foot down in situations. That might mean speaking up in situations, right? That might mean, I know married couples where their routines don't sync up. So you know what? Maybe one of them a few nights a week sleeps in a different bed, just to give themselves that physiological reprieve, that, they want to go to bed earlier. They don't want to watch, a big screen TV at night, right? They give themselves what they need. And what will happen when you do that is you will align back with your stream, and that stream will take you everywhere you want to go. So if you're an empath, that's the first thing. You have to really get back in touch with your core self, your core, right? By honoring your desires, what is natural, what is real for you. Step 2, I would say, would be to practice frequencies. And I talk about this a lot, and it is so easy. It is so easy. It might not be easy for you to feel. For example, it's very difficult for some people to feel their second chakra, because that chakra tends to be very shut down and frozen. For a lot of people, it's the emotional self, it's the inner child. But in general, the root chakra, right, if you do a Kegel exercise, or if you kind of bring some awareness or tension to that area of your body, you can feel that area of your body, and you can extend the awareness down the legs and into the feet. So when you feel that area of the body, right, and you become absorbed in it, and you practice the feeling of stability, right? And I mentioned that my favorite, I use images. And so I choose a black iron Buddha. A black iron Buddha, for some reason, really feels like the energy of, it's like stability and presence. So I meditated with that symbol for months on my first chakra, using Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation of the energy centers, blessing of the energy centers number 3, Botec 3. You choose a symbol for every chakra, and you practice the medicinal energy of that chakra. So for me, I chose an iron Buddha for the root, right? And I carry it into my day, so that if I am in an event, or if I am around people with like really chaotic psychic energy, right, I don't allow it to influence me. I don't allow it to program me, to knock me out of my center, because instead I'm feeling that Buddha energy. That's me. That's who I am. That's who I am. In my root, in my presence, I am a stable, clear being. No matter who is around me, no matter what they're doing, no matter what their understanding is, no matter what they think of me, no matter what they're projecting at me, which actually ironically happens less and less, not ironically, perfectly, because the universe is holographic. It really does happen less and less when you when you decide that the environment is not going to program you anymore. You don't elicit those challenging energies as much anymore, because now that you're embodying stability, it's almost like the universe tends to reflect it back to you. And so let's say you live in a household with family members. Let's say you have children. Let's say you have toddlers, or a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, right? And they're screaming, running in circles. And that's kind of what their energy looks like. And you're an empath, and you feel, maybe you feel that, and maybe your partner, feels overwhelmed and can't handle that experience, and you feel their overwhelm. So instead of being attuned to all of that information, right, you literally bring your energy back. You literally somatically just bring it back to you, and you feel your central channel. Why do you feel your central channel? Because your central channel is your psyche. That's your personal self. Really, the third chakra is the personal adult self, but really it's like this rod of stability. It's like a tree, right? Like the tree of life. It's the tree. It's the chakra system. If you would focus on that central channel and really put emphasis on the root and down the legs, you will begin to realize that you are like a tree. Like you are like a tree. There could be a hurricane and wind and I'm talking about a tree that doesn't get blown over. I'm talking about a banyan tree. Okay? But you have to practice. You have to practice. So practice when it's easy. Practice when you are meditating and you close your eyes and you practice feelings, or simply choose a song and say, I'm going to choose this frequency. I'm going to choose the frequency of stability. Like, I'll do it right now. So what I feel a radiance in my heart, along with I feel like my central channel like lit up and like solid, and my heart radiating, and my root chakra solid. So this is radiating, the root chakra is solid, and granted, I've built this up over time, but it's like, it's right there. The more you put attention on something, the more stable it becomes. The psychic energy becomes thicker in your experience, and it becomes more real to you in a sense, right? So now, at this point, what's more real to me is my ability to feel that stability than my option. The option is like so immediate. It's just boom, it's right there. It's right there for me because I practiced it. Because I was tired of being overwhelmed by all of the energy in the universe. It's a story that I got sick of hearing myself tell. Oh, I feel so much. Okay. And then life goes by, and what did you do? And it's not about, life isn't about what you do, but you are a conduit of genius, and genius wants to do. And if you keep yourself distracted by all the energy, your energy will be scattered, and it will never connect with the earth. It will never connect with the earth, because it will stop right here, and you'll start feeling everything in the ethers instead of deciding that it's irrelevant to you. It's irrelevant to you. Right? I can stand solid wherever I am because I want to. So, empaths must focus. And who knows the benefit that you will garner from learning how to concentrate. Hardly anybody knows how to concentrate. There are people who perhaps knew what they wanted to do since they were children. a lot of Europeans, around a lot of French people now, and there's, you know, in Europe and in other countries, like in high school you begin your specialty, right? And you continue it into university. And the bad side of that is like it's kind of hard to change your mind, right? It's kind of hard to change your mind. But the cool side about that is that you really become really proficient and great at what you do because you've been focused on it for so long. Whereas in the United States, like we usually don't specialize until grad school, which there's a good side to that. Like we have fun, we experiment with lots of things. And then we crack down in grad school and all of a sudden we have to focus a lot. But what I've noticed from talking to Europeans, and I lived in Brazil and I lived in other places where that's how the school system works, is that they are, you know, really good at what they do because they're focused, right? But if you're somebody that hasn't since a young age just known what they wanted, that's okay. The way to get back to it is just moment by moment. What's real for me now? What's real for me now? What's real for me now? Right? That's how you get back into yourself. You don't have to figure out your big picture. You don't have to figure out what you're going to do with your life. You just have to be attuned to life right now, right now, right now. And you have to decide that your environment is not going to program you. It's like the power of a clear decision is so powerful. And so you practice, right? So step 1, build the core. Step 2, practice the frequency. Practice the frequency. I think for an empath, maybe one of the most important frequencies, and I'll talk much more about frequency and choosing frequency and practicing frequency, but the frequency of stability, of core, of, I don't like the word centered because it's so ironic. You can feel stable, but still feel like you don't have a center in the sense that you're still in the experience of no self. These are things that can be simultaneous, right? I had an awakening into the no self, but my ego was so fractured that it actually made some of my experience even more chaotic in a way. And that's why I forgot, maybe it was Frederick Dodson, who's an amazing author about the subject of energy. He said it's actually a good idea to build your ego up before you go completely, before, you know, you have kind of a non-dual awakening. And mine was the reverse. Mine was more like I had the non-dual awakening and then I actually rebuilt the individuality rebuilt itself so that enlightened state, or that, you know, non-personal universal energy could connect with my earth experience, but it needed an avenue. So it started rebuilding the highway. And the core piece, you know, about the empathy thing, it's like, don't worry, you don't lose your empathy. You don't lose your ability to feel. You don't lose your ability to have compassion. You just become able, you're more of a master because you're not a victim of all the energy that you feel. You're not, you know, I'm a medical intuitive, and I used to interpret people's physical pain in my own body because on a psychological level, I had no boundaries. So even though I'm experiencing a kind of unity consciousness, the way that it's expressing is from a psychological understanding of, I don't exist, I have no boundaries, and so like your pain is my pain and I'll just feel it. And oh my goodness, the first step for taking care of that was becoming aware of what is and isn't yours. Okay, that's another big thing. If something comes into your experience and it disappears, it's probably not yours, right? A physical pain that you feel when you get in someone's car, that disappears when you get out of the car, it's not yours. Something that you feel when you answer the phone, that goes away when you hang up the phone, it could be yours if you have an emotional reaction to that person or that situation, but a lot of times as soon as you connect with something, you might just be feeling the psychic energy, the state of mind that person is in. And so what could be the value of that? Well, if you're like me, you're a scientist of the mind, you're a mystic, you want to understand how the mind works, how energy works, right? That could be incredibly valuable. but only to a certain extent. At the point where it starts to throw you off, or you identify with it and say, this is mine, and now it starts to diminish your experience. No, you've let it program you. You have let it program you. I mean, there's a kind of hand motion that I love. It's kind of like, if you imagine, like when monkeys pick bugs off of their babies, like you just boom, pick it off. Like that's how easily you can get things off you. Boom. No. It's saying no. Like, and I know this so deeply because I have been in the astral world where things that I didn't want in my experience were approaching me, and by almost like standing up for myself and saying no, boom, they flew away. So I'm saying stand in your power. Look, I've mentioned before also that Jesus was an exorcist. Okay? The man who received Kabbalah was an exorcist. Many mystics were exorcists because they had no fear of non-physical, of demons and entities. And I have no fear of that shit either, because I know what I am. And I know that when I radiate my light, there is literally nothing to fear. There's nothing to be afraid of. That's the attitude that you have to have. I was at the beach the other day with some women, and this guy offered them a cigarette. And they said, no, I don't smoke. And the guy jumped off of the jetty and drew a line in the sand. And he basically said some voodoo thing in French and basically cursed them. And I was laughing. They were like, oh my God, did you get any dark energy from him? Like, what do you sense from him? I'm like, guys, this is a joke. Like, he's harmless. He's absolutely harmless. He thinks he's not harmless. He thinks he just put a curse on you. But you just have to laugh and realize that nothing can harm you if you decide that that's who you are. Nothing can harm me. I am undiminishable. I am unable to be harmed, right? So step 1, build the highway. Step 2, practice frequencies and carry them into your day. And step 3, realize that seriously nothing can hurt you. Nothing can hurt you. You're not a 3-year-old anymore that needs to escape the possible, beating or the, being screamed at. Like, that's not real anymore for most of you. If it is real, please seek help and please, find safety. But if that's not your reality anymore, in every dimension, you have to realize, like, nothing can harm you. Nothing can harm you because you are the light. It's almost like, on that note, right, I think I've told this story before, but I was in a room with a teacher of mine, and he was talking about the deep possessions of demoniac, which is, I think, a teaching in the Bible about where Jesus used to remove demons from people, right? He was an exorcist. And in the classroom, in the classroom we were in, there was a dark presence in the room, okay? And it was very obvious, and it was unsavory. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm looking at the teacher, and he's just carrying on his lecture. And I go up to him after, and I'm like, you saw that, right? And he started laughing, and he's like, Alex, give it no energy. Give it no power whatsoever. None. Give it no power whatsoever. It has no power whatsoever. And I was like, oh, whoa, that's the attitude. That's the attitude that we need to have in this world. Nothing can diminish us. Nothing can harm us because we are the light, right? So empaths, celebrate your energetic sensitivities and enjoy your experience of the universe, but never let it program you and never let it diminish you. Have a good day.